Okay, so we are going to discuss the bishop and knight checkmate, where is the king is on d4. And notice there is one particular condition when you do checkmate with the bishop and knight. That is, you cannot do checkmate on the opposite color corner of the bishop. That means we cannot do checkmate on a1 and we cannot do checkmate on h8. We can do only in the same color corner, that is a8 and h1 here. Yeah. Any idea like why we cannot do checkmate on the h8?
Because we has white's bishop.
Yeah, because we do not have dark squared bishop and they are dark squared.
Yeah, it is somewhat possible to do checkmate, but it is not forced checkmate. I can show you a designed idea. Like let's say your knight is say here, and your king is here, and bishop is here, and this king is in the corner. So this is a checkmate.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
It is a checkmate, but it is not forced. Okay, so here the knight is delivering checkmate. That means the last move that was played by the knight only, and the question is what was played by the black. So black must have gone in the corner, and then he can go in the corner only through the f8, which is if the king was on f8. I mean, if the king was on g8, then only he must have gone to h8. So the question is why the king will go to h8? He will go to f8 only. Why he will go h8? So it is not forced. So we'll be learning how to do checkmate in the same color corner, and that is only possible. Okay, so Chirag has just joined. Hello Chirag, we'll be covering bishop and knight checkmate. So we have just started and we're discussing that we can do checkmate in the same color corner as of the bishop. So we'll divide the checkmate in three parts. The first part we'll be discussing how to force the king in the corner, forcing the king in the corner, and the second part we'll be discussing a W maneuver where we force king to go to the other side, right corner, to take the king into the right corner, and then we'll delivering the checkmate. Okay, so these things we are going to do. First, the king from once, I mean, you can say from the center of the board to the one corner of the board. That will be mostly wrong corner, and then from the wrong corner to the right corner, and then we will deliver the checkmate. So before we go for the checkmate, I'll show you some techniques that we'll be using, and that is of barrier, how the bishop and the knight controls the king. So whenever you keep the bishop and the knight on the same color squares, the bishop covers the same color square as he's placed on the light square, so it will be covering light square, and the knight just complement the bishop's control by covering the opposite color square. So you can notice the bishop and the knight together are making a barrier for the king, and the bishop and the knight controlling the. Yeah, it is not a perfect barrier because the king can escape from here as well as from here, but we'll assume that our king will be in time to stop the escape. Okay, this is one barrier that we'll be using, and this comes when you place the bishop and the knight one step away in the file or in the not in the diagonal, in the file or in the rank. Okay, this barrier is clear. Yeah, you can remember this barrier. This is barrier number 1, which we'll be using to put the king in the corner.
Yes, sir.
Okay, the next barrier we'll be facing is this one. This comes into the almost ending part of the game. You will be seeing. I will right now. I will not show you. I'll just avoid it so that we go to the other one. Yeah, this one again, the same thing. Bishop and the knight placed one step away in the file or in the rank and covering almost covering fully. The king cannot escape here. There is no way. And what we can do is we can force the king into the same color corner and we can deliver checkmate. Okay. Sometime we'll see that we are forcing the king to go to the opposite color corner, and then from there we'll be forcing the king to the right color corner. Okay, this was the another barrier, and this is a very nice barrier that that we'll be using to force the king into the corner. And this is actually the one that we'll be using many times. The bishop and the knight placed in diagonal on the same color squares, and they make a wall, like a square wall, you can say. And the king will force to go to the. This is the opposite color corner, and from here we'll force him to go to the right color corner. Okay, so now we will divide this again. Here we'll force the king to the opposite color corner. This is one part. From here to here we'll force. This is we'll be using a W maneuver technique of knight and force the king to the right color corner, and we'll deliver the checkmate. So these barriers are clear. I will repeat. I'll show you it again. The first thing we discussed was checkmate is possible in the same color corner, and then we discussed that bishop and the knight, when placed one step away in the same rank or a file, they control the king, and it is not perfect, but it is enough to control the king. And the next we discussed was this we didn't discuss. Yeah, we discussed bishop and the knight when placed in the 5th rank, they control the king fully, and the king cannot escape. And this one is very important that you can remember. This will be most useful when we'll deliver the checkmate, and we'll see that this is actually useful. Bishop and the knight placed in the diagonal, and only the bishop is ahead and the knight is in the back side, and they are making a square wall in front of the king, and the king cannot escape, and will force the king to go to the corner. These barriers are clear. So we start with the checkmate technique now. How do we deliver the checkmate? Yeah, barriers. In any question in the barrier, like you want to ask? No. Okay. See, the king will try to go to the opposite color corner as of the bishop. He will not try to go into the right corner. If he tries to go to the right corner, what we'll do? We'll be able to do checkmate easily. And if he goes to the opposite color corner, then we'll force him to go to the right color corner, and then we only will deliver checkmate. So actually, checkmate is possible in 28 to 30 moves, but the way we will deliver checkmate, it will take 33 moves. And the reason why it takes for us to do checkmate in 33 moves is we will be using some logical moves instead of some engine moves, and because that will be easy to remember and it will be easy to understand, and you'll be able to deliver checkmate, but it will take some extra moves for us. So that's the reason we take 33 moves instead of 28 to 30. Okay. So now, do you know there is a concept of 50 move rule in chess? All of you know you have to do checkmate within 50 moves. If you do not do checkmate
Yes,
within
sir.
50 moves, it's a draw. Okay. If there is no capture and then no pawn move, it will be checkmate. It will be draw by automatically by 50 moves after 50 moves. So we'll learn the technique of checkmate. The first thing that you should do is you bring your bishop in the not this one. Yeah, let's learn this thing. You bring your bishop in the longest diagonal. This is the longest diagonal. So what we do is, since here we can bring the bishop in the longest diagonal immediately, we can go bishop f3. Okay, the king has to make a decision. All these moves taken play. Assuming they'll try to go towards center, so they go king d4. We can go king e2. First step is to control center with the control the longest diagonal with the bishop. The second step is to control the remaining two squares on the longest diagonal by the king. So we want to bring the king and then control the remaining two squares. So let's say they do not allow us, and they go to king e5, and we bring our king just to control these squares. And after they play, now they have to leave the control as they cannot control all these four squares. So they leave the control, and we take control of the all the four squares in the center. So the first step is to bring the bishop in the longest diagonal, and then second step is to bring the king in the center and control all the four squares in the center. Now you'll see the king will be either, king will be either in this in one of these four parts, and automatically you'll be in one of the corner he'll try to go, which is the wrong corner. So you can see here, this is the wrong corner. So most likely the king will try to go to h8, and from there we'll force the king to go to h1 and deliver checkmate. Okay, so let's say the king goes to e6. Now, once we have done this thing, our bishop controlling the longest longest diagonal, then the king controlling the center. The third step is to bring the bishop in the center. You achieve this thing. All of you are getting this thing, or it's like difficult to understand why we are doing this thing? It is difficult, I understand.
Understanding.
Okay, that's good. It's difficult, but if you have any question, you can ask immediately. Otherwise, it will be you will not understand this, and you might not be able to deliver checkmate. So we have a king and bishop in the center. We have claimed the center, and now the king has to make a decision. They'll go to d6 or to f6. It is better to go on f6 than d6. So let's say they try to go to f6, and you notice already bishop is controlling the this diagonal. And you remember one barrier we learn? Yeah. What kind of barrier we learn? If the bishop is controlling the lines like this, and if we place the knight on g5, the knight will be controlling the squares here. So they'll be making a barrier to the king. So let's say the king tried to escape to the corner. Okay, it's white to play. So we want to go to the this square with the g4 with the knight. So we play a move knight to d3 followed by f2 and then g4. And the king can make two choices here. Either he can come to g5 or he can try to go into the corner. And as I told you, if the king try to make a wrong decision, here king g5 is a wrong decision. We'll see what we can do. It's easy to win the game later. We'll see. But let's see what happens if the king makes the correct decision by going to g7 or anywhere. Let's say here. You can try this thing. So what we do, we try to follow up the same idea. We try to make a barrier by going to g4. We go knight to z4. The king has to move. King e6. Okay, so you notice we have already made a barrier here. Yeah, you can see
Sir,
the king cannot escape. Yeah,
sir, like before, like if we do not play king e6, sir,
yes,
if
king
he
to
plays
z5.
king g5,
Yes, king g5 is a good question. I told you, like, if the king tries to play a weaker move, we'll see what we can do. We'll see that in the end. If king plays the weak moves, then what we can do. King g5 already against the principles because he's trying to go towards the corner. For the moment, it attacks the knight, but it is not very useful to attack the knight here. We can just save the knight back, and maybe you can go to h2, or you can come back to e3, or even you can go to e5. All these are possible, and the king has to again come back to either f6, or if he tries to go towards h4, it will be easy to do checkmate. But first, we are learning what happens if the king try to play all the best move, then how to do checkmate, and then we'll
Okay,
learn
sir.
what happens if the king makes a weak move. So king will try to go towards the corner because he knows that in this corner we cannot do checkmate. So we go to king knight g4, and the king goes to e6. and you can see there is a barrier. And you remember the second barrier we discussed, that was the square barrier. So we want to play bishop to f5, but the problem is we cannot play bishop f5 immediately. But we already know that there is a barrier here, so we can play king c5, waiting for the king to go to any of these, not here, any of these squares, and then we can play bishop f5. Let's say we go king c5, and now the king goes to f7 and bishop to f5, and all these squares are controlled. All of you are getting this thing from the beginning, what we did?
Yes, sir.
Perfect. So now there is a barrier, square barrier in front of the king, and from here we'll try to force the king go towards the h8 corner. Once the king is in h8 corner, this is our most difficult task, to put the king in the opposite color corner. From there the task is easy to do, and here the king will try to go to play, let's say the king goes to g7. We are again playing the top move, because the king will try to go to the corner, not in this corner, because we know that this way it will be easier for us to do checkmate. So king goes z7, we go d6, and they go f8, we go e6, g8, f6, and they try to go to the corner. So now you notice we have confined the king in one corner. This is the right corner, not the right corner, but it's the opposite color corner. From here we'll take him to the right corner, or you can go to this side also. Both are almost same, so it doesn't make any difference. So from here till this point, can anyone do this thing? Force the king to go to the opposite color corner. This is one part of the game.
Knight h7.
Knight h1. See, the king is already in the corner. No? Our task is completed. Okay, let's say they play king to it's king to g8, and now we know that they are trying to escape. We can go bishop to g6. What is this? Oh, it's not letting us play. Okay, bishop g6, and the king is controlled in the corner. The king cannot escape, right? There is no way he can escape. So we have confined the king in one corner, and till this point, this is one part of the checkmate. Anyone who wants to show us like how to do this? Yes.
Sir, knight h6.
See, checkmate is not possible. If you're trying to do checkmate here, that's not possible. This is one part of the game, checkmate, where we put the king, force the king to go in the opposite color corner, and there we from there we take him to the right color corner, and then only we can deliver checkmate. So this part is clear. This part has some of the ideas. Like what are the ideas you see? We control the longest diagonal with the bishop. Once we control the longest diagonal with the bishop, next task is to bring the king into the center. Once you bring the king into the center, next task is to bring the bishop in the center. And then we'll try to bring the knight, and our task with the knight is to make one of the barriers by which the king cannot escape, and then we'll be able to force the king to go to the opposite color corner. So here we have a barrier, and the king has to make a decision, and the king, wherever he goes, we can go king bishop f5, and there is a square wall. And from here it is easy to force him to go to the corners because he cannot escape anywhere. And once he goes to the corner, yeah, from here we'll discuss. Till this point, it is clear. This is the most difficult task. If you can learn this thing, if you can force the king to go to the corner this way, so it will be easy for us to do checkmate. This is the most difficult task. Like we have achieved in 14 move. I think it will take another 14, 16 move to deliver the checkmate also. Okay. Anyone you want to ask any question here? What are the techniques we used? How we force the king to the corner if opponent play all the best moves? We'll discuss what if he doesn't play the best move, but for the moment we are discussing what if he plays the best move. Yes. Okay, so now we'll try to do it again, and we'll try to do it on the other positions. Let's take this one. How do we force the king to go to the one of these corners, either this or this? Yeah, anyone who remember the steps, you can tell. I will play the moves. Yeah, or you want to, we can do one more thing. We can play against the computer, and we'll be using the same technique. Anyone who remembers all the techniques to force the king to go to the corners? Yes, Asni, you remember? Ayans, you remember the techniques? Okay, let's take, we did this one. So let's take, yeah, this one. So the first move was to put the bishop on the longest diagonal. So we go bishop to c3. This was the first step. Now what we try to do, we try to go to the corner with the, go to the center with the king. We try to claim the center. And they're not letting us do, but we'll play waiting move to control it. Okay, next move we are going to play king to e4, not letting us. So now we can play king e4. So we have controlled the center. The third step is to bring the bishop in the center. So bishop to d4. And here we have controlled the king in this space. And the king will try to go into this corner only. And if it tries to go to the other corner, it will be easy for us. But now our task is to bring the knight in the center, or you can say in a way that it controls the king and makes a barrier with the help of bishop. So if you remember, the knight placed one step away in the file or in the rank makes a perfect cutoff. So you want to go to b4. So let's say we go d3, and I think this is the move this would play. King c6.
Sir, why not knight?
Knight
Why not knight
e3.
a2?
Knight e3. Yeah, it's the same thing. There is no problem. You can go for it. There is no problem. You can go for it. So we can go knight b4, but let's go king e5, forcing him to go to the corner, and then we can go knight to b5, b4. So you notice you're making a wall here. All these squares are controlled. Yeah, is this clear? What was the next step? This was the fourth step. The fifth step is, yeah, if you do not remember the steps, then you'll not be able to do checkmate. The fifth step was to bring the bishop one step ahead of the knight so that they make a perfect cutoff called as square wall cutoff. And you notice all these squares are taken. Yeah. And from here, it is easy to put the king to go to the corner. And from the opposite color corner, we take him to the right corner. So we can go f6, not letting him escape. And he can go here, but it doesn't make any difference. Or if they go here, then also the same thing. Okay, so we go to e7. Next move king b8. We go d7. And once they're in the corner, we go c6. Okay, next we can go king c6. So this step is clear. Yeah, everyone. We have forced the king to the corner. The king is not controlled, but the moment you play bishop b6, the king is controlled in the corner. The king cannot escape. We have controlled the king in the corner. Yeah, and we have done it in 18 moves only. So next 14 move, I think we can do checkmate. This step is clear.
Sir,
Forcing the
but
king into the corner.
sir, you had
Yeah.
said that we had to keep our bishop on the longest diagonal.
Longest diagonal in the beginning, you have to keep the bishop. Not all the time you will keep the bishop in the longest diagonal. In the beginning, we
Okay.
keep the bishop in the longest diagonal so that we cut off the board on two half and we check in which side the king is trying to go. So either the king will try to go to h1 or the king will try to go to the a8. So from here, we'll get the idea which side we need to go. And we are able to see that the king is trying to go to the a8, and that's how we are responding to him. Okay, so two main techniques we used here. First was knight and bishop placed like one step away in the rank, controlling the king. And the second technique we used here, knight and bishop placed together in the diagonal, and they control the king. And with the help of these two techniques, you'll be able to force the king go to the corner. And once the king is in the corner, you try to control the king in the corner. And then we will learn the W maneuver, the knight maneuver, forcing the king to go to the right corner, and then we'll deliver the checkmate. Okay, this idea is clear. Anyone who want to ask? Rudrans? All these steps were clear? Okay. Okay, so let's learn. Anyone who wants to try this thing against the computer? The thing that we have just learned? Yeah. Asni, can you try following these steps we discussed?
Sir, I'll just try.
Okay, I'm giving you the control. Just try it.
Okay.
You play the move, and what is the task here is to force the king to go to the one of the corners and following these steps that we have discussed. Yeah, bishop in the longest. That's not the longest diagonal. You might need to change. Okay. Yeah, the next step was to bring the king in the center. Yeah, go to the center. You're still not in the center. Yeah. What is the fourth step? Not the fourth. It's the third step. Yeah. Third step is to not the knight. It was bishop in the center. Okay, you can continue. It doesn't matter. You can leave the knight as it is, and then you bring the bishop in the center. Yeah. From here, we decide we need to place the knight to g4. Yeah, we know that the knight has to go to z4, so we have to play the move. Why we need to go to z4? Just a moment. Yeah.
Sir, to make a box.
Yes. Go for. Yeah, this also works.
Sir, to make barrier.
Yeah, you are making a barrier here. You can go z4. Yeah, you're at least controlling one side of the board. And now we know that we just need to go to, if you try to imagine here, you notice you're controlling these squares. Yeah, and also this. So the next step was, what is the next step?
Sir, push the king to the corner.
But before that, you need to place make a square wall. So we want to make the move the bishop to f5 so that we make a square wall. But the problem is we cannot go bishop f5. And if you move the knight, then you are breaking the barrier. The king will come in the center. Oh, what is this? Wait a second. Wait a second. Yeah, this was the position. Okay. So here, what? Wait a moment. This thing. Yeah. So how do we go here? Bishop f5. Play a waiting move. King c5. Yeah. Play the move. We play the move king c5, and why you'll go back? King c5, and now the king has to leave the control of f5, and we can go to bishop f5. Okay, bishop f5. It is good if the king goes to the right color corner, but I know that the computer will not play the wrong move. That's why I've taken it. Okay, now we just need to. You can't move the knight. You'll break all the barriers here. You're already making a barrier that is a square wall barrier here. All these squares are controlled. So you need your king to force the king to go into the opposite color corner. That is h8 here. Yeah, good move. Next, what do we play?
King to d6.
Yes, king d6. We see bishop and knight we cannot touch. They are making a wall here. Next, what do we play?
So king to e6.
King e6 you can play, but it is not recommended. But here it will work because computer will play the best move. That is a fate, but a human will not play. Here the best move was to just wait for a moment. How we can wait? There are many ways to wait here. You can just play bishop to e6, or you can you can just go into the other diagonal and you can wait. But anyway, king e6, king of 8, and then you'll play the move. You first learn how to beat against the top engine, win against the top moves, best moves, and then you'll learn how to win against the weak moves. King f6, correct. And next, what we can play? How do we control the king in the corners? Right now, the king can escape. Bishop
So
2, not
bishop
there. See,
e6 check.
if you go if you go e6, the king can go h7. E6 is playable. See, not that, not that. Bishop g6. It just controls the king completely. The king cannot go anywhere except these three squares. Yeah, those are the only three squares he has. So once we have controlled the king into the corner, now our next task comes, that is the W maneuver. Okay, now let me take the control.
So why not does C play like F8?
Bishop.
Sir, after G.
It's the same thing.
Why not?
It doesn't matter. He goes to f8 or h8 because in the next few moves he will just keep repeating the moves h8, g8, f8. So it doesn't matter. He goes h8. In the corner, it is easy for him because he knows that he cannot be checkmated, and we have to do some extra task to bring it to remove the king from the corner. And if he goes to f8, it is easier for us because we just need to force him to go in this much distance, and here we'll have to force him to go this much distance. So now we are going to learn the W maneuver, which is very important. And if you do any mistake in the W maneuver, you will not be able to deliver checkmate because you have already spent a lot of time and you cannot repeat it again. So the W maneuver starts when the king is in the corner already, and you have controlled the king in the corner. Here we have already controlled the king in the corner, and this is completely theoretical. So you have to remember the steps, and you should know like when to play the certain moves. So there are some rules here that we'll be learning. That is, a knight will first control the corner square, and from there the knight will always go in the W pattern like this. Okay, no backward move. It will always go forward and this way only. Second thing that you have to remember, the king move will be playing always will be going in one direction, that is to the right till g6. No up down, left right, left, only to the right, and one by one step only. And we're using the bishop to make sure that the king is not able to escape. Is this clear? So I repeat it again.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, first we'll control the corner square. Right now we need to play knight to c7. Then only we control the corner square. Once the knight is on c7, then we'll move the knight in a W shape and only to the forward, no backward move. Some players do the mistake by playing this move, which is not correct. They go like this, which is not correct. Okay, you have to go to d5, then to e7, then to f5, then to g7, and the king only to the right, this way only. And we'll be using the bishop to control the dark square so that the king cannot escape. So right now the king is on a8, and here we need to control the 8 square so that the king comes to b8, and the There are two moves you can play: knight b6 or knight c7. Knight c7 is easier here, so we go knight c7. Now the king has to go to b8. So who will control the b8 square? Anyone?
Sir, the bishop.
Yes, the bishop will control the b8 square, but right now the bishop cannot control b8 square. So we need to play a waiting move so that the king leaves the control of b8 square, and then we can play knight bishop a7. So you can play bishop anywhere in this diagonal, anywhere you go. The king goes to c8, and then only we go bishop to a7. Yeah,
Sir, when we
control.
played a waiting move, can't we play bishop d7? Sorry, king d6.
No, king d6 we play, then there is no barrier. The king will go to b7.
Okay.
Yeah, we're moving the king when the king try to escape, and then only in that situation only we'll be moving the king. Right now we're trying to take control of b8. So if you move the king, then the king gets the b7 square, and if you move the knight, the king gets a8 square. So we need to play a waiting move in a way that we're not losing control of any of the square. So that is possible only by the bishop move. So bishop anywhere. In the game we played bishop g. When the king goes to c8, and now we control bishop. We go bishop a7 and control b8. So here we have to. I have told you that we have to move the knight in the W shape, and you have to move the knight only in one condition. You have to execute the W maneuver in only one condition. Whenever the king try to escape, and you're controlling the previous square. So here both conditions are meeting. Bishop is controlling the previous square, and the king is trying to escape. So right now we need to play the move knight d5. Again, what happens if the king comes back to c8 is easy to figure out. I will teach you what happens. But right now, let's see what happens if the king tries to escape through the e8 square, the best possible defense. If the king goes e8, now you tell me, can we continue W maneuver?
No, sir. The king
Not
goes.
possible.
sir.
Yeah,
No, sir.
that is not possible. So here we bring the king. Also, there is no point of moving the bishop because bishop will control only the dark square, which right now the knight is doing. So we bring the king to d6. Again, the king can go two steps. He can go to d8, he can go to f7, or he can go to f8. D8 is easy. If he goes d8, we again just continue our knight maneuver, control the c8 square, and the king cannot escape. But let's see what happens if the king try to escape to f7. So we continue the W maneuver with the knight. And now, if you notice, the knight controls some important squares. Okay, these two squares, and the king is not able to go there. So if the king needs, also the king controls this square. So if the king needs to escape, he has to use this path or this path to escape. Yeah. So in both situations, he is using the g5 square. So what we do?
Sir,
Let's say
we
the player
bishop
move.
to e3.
The bishop to e3.
Yes, bishop e3. Very nice. And now we are making a barrier here for them, and they cannot escape. And if you remember, we did exactly the same thing. I didn't teach you, but now I'll show you. One of the barrier that I didn't show you. Yeah, this barrier. The knight and the bishop controlling the king like this, and the king has to go to f7 or to g7. So let's say they go f7. Oh, it's our turn. So let's play waiting move. King goes to f7, and next what we can play? Here we cannot make progress with any of the pieces, the king or the knight. So we have to make progress with the bishop so that we control more squares. How do you force him to go back to the 8th rank?
Sir,
Bishop to
g5.
Yeah, bishop g5 as well as bishop c3 both do the same thing. Yeah, so we go bishop c3. The king has to go to, you notice all the squares are taken. The king has to go to f8 or e8. If the king goes to e8, now we continue with the, how do we take away f7 square?
The king to
Sir, king to
e6.
e6.
E6, yeah. And now the king has two choice, either d8 or f8. So if he goes f8, should we
Then we
continue
do
the
W
W maneuver? No, you're missing one thing. I told you you have to continue the W maneuver only in a situation when the king is trying to escape and you are controlling the previous square, that is d8,
Sir, king
not the king.
f6.
Bishop to a5.
Bishop a5, then the king escapes now. So we just play a waiting move so that the king goes back to the e8 square. See,
Sir, why not king f?
king f6, you are breaking the rules here. The king goes back to e8. And then you have to come back to control d7 square. So here we want to continue W maneuver, but the problem is this square is not taken. So if you just go back to f5, the king will just go back and is try to escape through d8. So before we continue W maneuver, we need to make sure that the d8 square is controlled, and also we need to make sure right now that the king is not able to escape. So we'll just play a waiting move, taking control of g7 square. And you notice since all these squares are taken, the king has to go back only. Once the king goes back, now we can control d8 square by bishop e6. And since we are controlling the previous square d8 and the king is trying to escape, now it's time to play the move.
So knight to f5.
Yes, knight f5. Again, the king has two choices. He can go to e8 or to g8. And if king comes to e8 back, then we continue the W maneuver with the knight. And if the king goes to g8, then we bring our king. Again, if he comes back to the same square, we continue W maneuver with the knight. And right now we have controlled the king, yeah, fully. And yeah, let's see the king goes to f8. This time what we play here? These squares we're already taking.
Sir, knight to g7.
Yes, knight g7, and the king has to go to g8. Next, what we play?
Sir, bishop c5.
Bishop c5. There is a better move, king g6. You take control of these two squares, and if the king try to escape, then you play bishop c5. Now you play bishop c5, and since you're controlling all these squares, the king has to go to the corner only. Okay, this is clear. The second part, the W maneuver. I will repeat it again. I will show you because it's very important thing. I know it's in one try it will not be clear to you. Okay, so let's see again. Yeah, we have some rules against the W maneuver. The first is we control the corner with the knight. Okay. Next, what we do? We need to control b8 square. So b8 square we control with the bishop by playing bishop a7, and we cannot play immediately, so we need to play a waiting move. So we play a waiting move so that we control the b8 square. Next move. Okay, so after the king goes to c8, now we play bishop to a7, and we are controlling the b8 square. And now the king has to escape to d8, and if the king goes to d8, what is the next move?
King d6.
No, not king d6.
Sir, knight to d5.
Knight to d5.
Yes, whenever the king try to escape, and we are controlling the previous square, then only we have to play the knight maneuver. Yeah, king d6, there is a problem. The king goes back and can escape. Here, if the king goes back, then we can control the king by playing knight to d7 and followed by knight to d6 or king d6. So here the king has two choice. He'll play the king e8, and you can see we cannot continue W maneuver, so we play the king move, that is
Sir, king to d6.
d6. Yeah. If the king comes back, we continue the W maneuver. Whenever the king comes back, you have to play the W maneuver, and when the king try to escape, then you have to then also you have to continue the W maneuver only. But you have to be careful because you cannot play random moves after that. So we go knight e7, making sure that the king cannot escape through these two squares, g6 mainly. So we play knight to e7, continuing the W maneuver, and these two squares we are controlling, and the king will play f. Okay, this time he has gone to g7, so he wants to escape through h6. Okay, these two squares we are controlling. He wants to escape through h6, so we play the move.
Sir, bishop to e3.
Yeah, bishop e3. We go bishop e3. We are controlling this square, and also we are controlling these squares.
h5. For
I
king
think
h5.
king will go f6. Yeah, king will go f6. This time
So
what
why
will play?
not h5?
How can he go h5 from this square?
Sir, can we go b4?
So
bf4?
why sir, king h6?
bf4, sir.
Yeah, bishop f4 is a very good waiting move. Yeah, it's a good waiting move so that you just wait for opponent to go back and then you control more space. So bishop f4 is correct, and again the king has to make a decision. He has to leave the control of the important squares and he has to go back. Since he has gone back and we are controlling these squares, now what we can play?
Bishop to e5.
Yeah, bishop e5. King goes to e8. King 8 is the move that I think he'll play. Yeah, king e8. What is the next move? f7 square we need to control.
Sir, king to e6.
King e6. If the king try to escape, then yeah,
Sir, bishop to b1, b8.
yeah. You just need to play a waiting move. You remember this move? Yeah, this position, the king knight and the king here, and this one is exactly same. The only difference is the bishop placement. Bishop we have placed randomly. Yeah. So what we have to do, we just need to play a waiting move so that the king goes back to the same square, and then we control the c7 square, and then we take control of d8 also. So anywhere bishop in the same diagonal, as you mentioned, bishop b8 is also good. The king goes to e8, and then we go bishop to c7. Okay, this time we go to bishop c7, and the king try to escape. After this, what we play? If the king try to escape,
Knight to f5. Knight to f5.
knight f5. See, you have to remember, not the king, it is the knight. Whenever the bishop controls the previous square and the king trying to escape, you have to continue the W maneuver with the knight so that you control g7. And if you move the king comes back to e8. And then you have to take care of d7 square. I will take care of that. That's the reason we play knight f5. And yeah, so we go knight f5. And now the king has to, I mean, the engine will play king e8. Yeah, so
Knight
against the king e8, what we play?
Knight c7.
Just a moment. Yeah, what do you play? Yeah, which move is to play? The bishop is controlling this square, so bishop cannot do anything. The king is controlling these squares.
Knight g7.
Knight g7 is the right answer, forcing the king to go to f8 and then followed by g8. So the king has to go to f8, only choice. And after the king goes to f8,
King f6.
king f6. Yeah, we know that we cannot move the knight backward. We can only play the knight like this. So the knight cannot move. The king has to go to f6. And the king has only one choice again, g8. So he'll go g8. So what do we play after king goes to g8?
B D B d6, sir.
No, there is a better move. You can play this move, but there is a better move.
King g7, g6.
King g6, yeah. So that the king cannot escape through h7. And the king has to come back, or he can go to h8. Then you can go bishop d6, which takes control of the both squares, e7 as well as f8. You notice the knight controls the e8 square. That is very important. So that's the reason you are able to play bishop d6, and the king goes into the corner. Okay, we'll try one more time the double maneuver, but let's learn the how we deliver the checkmate when you have bishop and the knight here. So we have the bishop and the knight. We have to deliver the checkmate. Anyone who already know how to do checkmate here? Yeah, or you want to guess like how we can do checkmate? We need to take control of g8 as well as h8 square in a way that we are able to deliver checkmate without doing a stalemate. Okay, let's learn this thing. Who will control the g8 square? Who do you think? Bishop, knight, or the king?
Sir, knight.
Knight will control g8 square. And the corner square? We need to push the king in the corner, and then we need to take control of that. So who will control the h8 square?
Bishop.
Yeah, the bishop is the right answer. Bishop controls the h8 square, knight controls g8. So if the knight needs to control g8 square, where the knights would be placed? If the knight needs to control g8 square, then where do you think the knights would be placed?
h5.
Knight h5 and then f6.
Okay, so you're saying knight from f6 will control g8? Any other answer?
No, actually it's f6.
We can go to f5 also.
97.
Knight e7 can also control. Yeah. One more.
Knight e8.
f7.
Why you'll play?
And
f7.
f5.
See, from f5 how you'll control g8? I'm asking the square from where you can control g8 square.
We can go for first. We can go to f5. And we can go,
h6.
Yeah, these are the square from where you can control g8 square. So out of these, only one is correct. We'll see why. But let's assume if we you got these three squares control g8. But let's see what happens if the knight is on f6. If the knight is on f6, the knight controls g8 square. But how will control the corner square?
Square.
Corner square h8. No way, not possible. You want to control the corner
can go
square?
we can go to e8 also.
Why? See, the task is to control g8 square.
E8.
From
E8 and
E8
we can go to f6.
Seriously, so you're mixing the things up. We don't want to learn the how you are going to f6. We're just asking. We already know like from f6 we can control g8 square. There is no problem. Now we are not learning how you will go to f6. That you already know. There is no problem. Now you know there are many paths to go f6. You can use this path. You can use this path. You can use even the longer path. So there is that's not the problem. We are learning here beyond that. If the knight is on f6, the knight controls the g8 square. That's fine. But how you will control the corner square h8? The corner square will be controlled by the bishop only. But since there is a knight on f6, the bishop is getting blocked by the knight. So placing the knight on f6 is not a good idea because it blocks the diagonal. And we cannot take control of h8. Yes, Charit, you want to say something? Okay, from f6 we are blocking the way of bishop. Yeah, which one?
96.
E6. Then how you're controlling g8?
We can control f8.
But see, we need to control g8. f8 square is already controlled by the bishop. We need to control g8 square. So g8 square we can control from these three squares, e7, f6, and h6. And from f6 we have a problem, that is the bishop cannot control the h8 square. Same
Knight
problem.
Knight f5.
Knight to
F5.
how you're controlling h8?
Then we can go to 97.
Okay, so you're saying from e7 you'll control the g8 square.
Yes.
Yeah, the moment you play knight e7, why the king will go into the corner? He will go to f8.
We can knight h6 check.
Yes, knight h6 is the only correct square from where you're not interfering in the task of bishop. Bishop is able to control both the diagonals, and the knight is also not, not creating any problem for the control of bishop. So we go f5 followed by h6.
No,
F7?
King can come to f7 also. Black king.
How the black king will come to f7? We're not moving our
If
king
you
anywhere.
f6, king to f6, then We can move now.
No, we are not moving the king. If we are not moving the king, then how the opponent will come to f7?
Okay.
We are moving the knight f5 to go h6 to control g8. Okay, first we saw that these three squares can control g8. Out of these three squares, e7 and f6 are wrong because they are blocking the bishop. So the only correct square is h6. So we go h6 from f5. So we go knight f5. King will have to go to h8 only, and we cannot play knight h6 immediately because it is stalemate. So we just play a waiting move. Any waiting move you can play in the bishop. So let's say you go here, making sure you are controlling this f8 square, and now you can go to h6. Once the king goes to the corner, then you can play bishop to h8. Remember here, if the knight is on
Checkmate.
if the knight is on f6, you cannot deliver this checkmate.
Yes.
Yeah, so we have to keep the knight on h6. So then we can play bishop to
Checkmate.
checkmate here. We can again discuss this thing. This one is important.
Okay.
The checkmate technique. Yeah. What we do, we need to control g8 square with the knight and the h8 square with the bishop. And we control g8 square with the knight only and bishop h8 square with the bishop. So here we need to control g8 square from either e7, f6 or h6. So out of these three squares, we realize that e7 and f6 are blocking the bishop. So we cannot use them. So we need to go to the h6 square. This is the correct square. And we can go h6 by placing knight f5, h6. I mean, you can use any path that you like. So it doesn't matter. You can even go h5. So this one is the fastest one. And we cannot immediately play bishop h6. So we can play a waiting move. And waiting move we can play with the bishop. And then after we give check, knight h6, king goes h8, and then only bishop to d4 checkmate. Okay. Is this clear?
Checkmate.
Yeah, bishop to d4 is checkmate. So the checkmate is in three parts. One is forcing the king to the corner using some barriers. The second part was the W maneuver. The W maneuver starts from here. And the third part was delivering checkmate. I will again show you the W maneuver on the bottom so that you can remember all the ideas. And then
Shiva, I just want to know one thing in it.
Yeah.
Can you go backwards?
This was the checkmate position.
Yeah. And suppose if my bishop is of white 1,
Okay.
then I can do checkmate black king on h1 and a8 only, no?
Only yes. That is the right corner. You joined late, that's why you don't know this thing.
Okay.
In the beginning we discussed there is a right corner and you can do checkmate in the same color of bishop.
Okay.
Okay, let's see the W maneuver on the bottom. So here you can see we are controlling the king on the corner. So from the and it's the opposite color corner. So from here we'll take him to the right color corner and we'll deliver the checkmate. So using the W maneuver technique, we'll take him to the right color corner. So any one of you want to play the move and tell how you will take the king to the corner?
White to move.
Yes, white to move.
C2, sir, and C2.
Yes, knight c2. We're taking control of the corner.
Yes.
Now
Yes,
our
sir.
next task is to
King B1.
king. What is the next move?
We have to get waiting move. We have to play like
Yes,
bishop
we need to
C.
control b1.
Bishop C4. Bishop C4,
Yeah,
sir.
bishop anywhere in the diagonal is fine. Not bishop a4. This is only wrong move. Anywhere bishop is fine.
You can
This
do
is-
knight T3 check for B1.
Knight e3. You remember this was the technique.
And A2, sir.
Okay.
B A2, sir. B A2.
Yeah, bishop a2 is right answer. So that we control bishop b1 square and the king cannot go to b1. And now only we have to follow the W maneuver that starts
If
with
I
the.
play
Yeah.
knight to a3, then
Why you'll play knight e3? See, I told you there is a rule that the knight must follow the W maneuver, and the king goes like this, and bishop controls the squares, light squares here. If you're going knight e3, so the king escapes to d1,
yes.
and it will be difficult to control. You have to come back to c2 square,
Okay.
and the king will come to c1. So it's like you're repeating. So it is better to control b1 first, so that the king cannot go backward. We take control of b1. Now the king goes to d1, and
Knight
we are also controlling knight 2, e3 or d4. Which one?
D4.
Yes, d4 is right answer. And
D4.
knight will go to
Knight
d1.
D4.
So, yeah, what do we play? Now what do we play?
No, but d4 is right.
We have to follow the W pattern like this,
Okay.
and not knight like this. This is the wrong way.
King
D3, sir.
King d3.
King D3.
Yeah, we cannot make any use of bishop. Knight cannot go anywhere. I mean, the knight has to go to e2 only, but cannot go. So king d3. And next move we just play knight e2. You remember all this thing? So that we take control of these squares. Okay, now the king is trying to escape from the h3 square. What do we do?
Bishop.
Bishop E6.
E6, perfect. And the king, again, we can see the control. What do we play? How do you force the king to go back to e1?
Bishop waiting move,
Bishop
sir.
to d5.
Yeah, which move? Which waiting move?
Bishop to d5.
Bishop d5, the king escapes. Throw g4.
3.
Bishop 2.
Bishop F5, sir. Bishop
You
F5.
can do anywhere. Bishop.
Bishop, not anyway, there is one particular square.
Sir,
Bishop F5, sir.
Okay,
F5.
bishop f5 is right, but somebody is saying something. Yeah, what you're saying?
Bishop d7.
Bishop. Sorry, which move?
D7.
d7. Yeah, d7 is good. d7 is also good. Bishop d7, f5 both are good. So let's try this time bishop to
Waiting.
d7. Yeah, waiting move so that the king leaves the control of f3 and then we take control of f3.
Okay.
Yeah. We are controlling
Can
these
you
two
go
squares
backwards?
with the
Can you
knight.
go backwards?
Yeah.
And if we go to bishop to f5, then
It's the same thing. It's just no difference. If you go bishop f5, it's you're not making any difference. It's the same thing. Bishop d7, f5 both are same.
okay.
There's no difference. You're controlling this square this time, and you're controlling this square. Both these squares are useless, so there is no point of saying like these two are different. Both are same. So this time, what do we play? How do we take control of? Knight is controlling these two. How do we take control of f3, g2?
Bishop h3.
Bishop s3, the king goes to f3.
Bishop e4.
Bishop e4 is good. You can play bishop g4, but bishop e4 is more better for us. So we go bishop e4. This time the king goes to e1. What do we do? Should we play the knight?
King e3.
King e3, yeah. King e3, the king tries to go to d1. Try to think. We need to play a waiting move so that we control the d1 square. How do we do it?
Bishop waiting move, sir. We need
Yeah,
to
where?
move
Bishop
b3.
Yeah, bishop b1. You can keep the bishop in the same diagonal anywhere, and it's not a problem. So bishop b1. King goes e1.
B c2, sir.
Yeah, bishop c2. Perfect. King is trying to escape, and we are controlling the previous square.
Knight f4.
Perfect. Knight f4. And the king comes back.
Knight g2 check.
Yes, knight g2 check, and you can keep it. This is the easiest thing. If the king goes to g1, then we first play the king and then the knight. I mean, it makes sense because you cannot play the knight first. They just take your knight. So the knight king has gone to back to e1. So this time we play the knight z2. Here we cannot continue with king f3 because the king escapes. So first knight z2 and then the king. King f3, king g1. What is the move? One player was making mistake here every single time. I see.
Sir,
You'll play here.
now the move is b
Bishop.
d3, sir.
No, not bishop. I think you're doing this mistake many times. Every single time you're doing the same mistake.
Sir, king g3.
King g3. First, the bishop move, when you play bishop here, it will control the king. And it doesn't matter you play the bishop right now or you play the next move. But the king move is important so that the king cannot escape. So we move the king immediately to z3. Now your move is important.
Bishop d3.
Yeah, bishop d3. The king goes in the corner and the checkmate technique is exactly same. Anyone who wants to try checkmate?
Sir,
Okay,
now
without
we
me,
need
tell
to
all
do the
you.
waiting move, sir.
Okay, what waiting move will play?
Sir, with the knight.
Okay, which
Sir.
move will play?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, tell the checkmate, like all the moves. Tell the checkmate. Yeah, how we can deliver checkmate here? It's the same technique checkmate. You need to control g1 and h1 one by one.
Sir, knight f4. King will go h1. Then we can do any bishop waiting like bishop c4.
Okay.
And then king g1. Knight h3 check. King h1. Bishop d5 make.
Yes, very nice. So we go knight f4. We want to go h3. The knight controls g1 square from three places. One is e2, f3, and s3. And we know that e2 and f3 are wrong. So that's the reason we go to s3, throw f4. Knight h4, knight f4, king h1, and then we need to go knight s3. But the problem is it is stalemate. So we play a waiting move with the bishop, and of course we need to control f1 square. So we just play any waiting move in the same diagonal. Giving a check is not useful because then the king goes to g1, and then you play check. The king escapes to f1. So we just play waiting move, controlling f1 square, and then you can go knight s3. Again, knight e2 will not work because the king goes to f1. So knight s3 check, king goes h1, and then we play bishop to b7 check. It's the same technique, technique checkmate you can do. The W maneuver on the bottom as well as on the up. So you can go this way, or you can go this way. I mean, you can go anyway. Like you can go this way also. You can come this way. You can go this way also. This way, also this to this way. This to this way. Also this way also possible. So anyway, it is possible, and you should not be biased with only one direction, upside only, from left to right or right to left. You can do any side, from bottom right to left or left to right, or as well as on the edge of the board. Okay. So should we try the full checkmate? Yeah, to see how many moves we are able to do checkmate.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so what is the first task? Control the longest diagonal. Bishop f3. Second task was to control the center with the king.
King.
Yeah,
King.
so we bring the king in the center and we try to control the remaining two squares of center. Yeah, we don't have any problem here because the king cannot go f2. So it is fine. And the third task was to bring the bishop in the center. So bishop e4. If the bishop was like somewhere, let's say here, then we can go bishop d5. It doesn't matter, you go e4, d5. So if you have any question like why e4, not d5, both are almost same. But let's go e4 because then we can play knight g4 easily. And bishop and the knight together will make a wall. Okay, we want to go z4. What is the best way? This is the way. Why we are going g4? Any question in this one? In the beginning only I saw you that bishop and the knight placed one step away in the rank controls the king and make a barrier. So we want to go z4 so that we make a barrier, and this is the path that we'll be using. King goes to f6, I'm assuming. We can go z4, but the problem is the king can come and attack. So we play a waiting move. So the king just go back and then we go knight z4. And now you notice you're controlling all these squares and the king cannot escape. Right? No, I need to draw it again. Yeah, so the king cannot escape. What do we do now? What was the next step? Anyone who remember? We made one kind of wall. Now we need to make the other kind of wall.
Bishop f5.
Yes, bishop f5 to make a perfect square wall. And from here, we can force the king to go to the corner. And we can use our king. We can use only our king to force the king to go to corner. So we already know that there is a wall here. And since the king can go here, but he cannot make any progress. So that's not a problem. The move that I told you that in the game, you can play a waiting move. But here, you can play king e6 because we know that the king will go f8. And then you can go bishop to f6, king f6. The king has to go to z8. And bishop g6 controls the king completely in the corner and the king cannot escape. Now comes the second part, that is the W maneuver. To start the W maneuver, our knight should be placed on. Yeah. Yeah, where we go? How do you control the h8 square? You know, the question has answer. Every answer, like you need to find the f7 answer, f7, because you need to control h8. Or you can say you need to control h8. So either you have to go to f7 or g6, and g6 square is taken by the bishop, so we go f7. And there is a mistake that many players do. They go knight f6 and they do stalemate immediately. So if the king is on g8, then you can use this path. But if the king is in corner, then you cannot use this path. You have to go through the outside. And it is always better to go through the outside. Then you will not be in any trouble. So you can go e5, then followed by f7. And from here, the whole W pattern starts. Okay, like this. What is the move? Okay, we saw this from this to this direction. We also saw this to this direction. Now we are seeing this to this direction. Okay, so what is the move here? We have control h8. Next task is to control.
So bishop.
Yeah, bishop h7. And the king goes to e8. The king is trying to escape, and we are controlling the previous square, that is z8.
Knight
So
e5.
move, knight e5, very nice. We are continuing the W pattern, and the king try to escape. So what is the move? Knight or the king or the bishop?
Bishop.
Bishop. What you'll do with the bishop?
Z6, sir.
Bishop g6. Why? You're controlling this square, but the king anyway will not go there.
E6.
He escapes. King e6 is the move. With the bishop, you cannot make progress. If you go anywhere into this diagonal, you are not controlling important squares. With the king, it is important so that you can play knight d7 later. So you go king e6, and if the king goes to c7, now you can play the move. This move is very important. Like you'll miss in the game. You'll see that it looks like the king is able to escape, is running out of the control, but we are still taking
Knight
control.
d2.
Knight d7, and the knight controls very important square. These two, the dark squares and the light squares will be taken by the bishop. Sometimes you'll have to play bishop d3, sometimes bishop e4, but exclusively you have to play bishop d3, and then followed by c5 or e2. Yeah, this time what do we play? Yeah, what move we play here? All our pieces are doing great work. We cannot make any progress, so we just need to play a waiting move so that the opponent leaves the control. How do we play a waiting move? Bishop two? Bishop two, sorry.
Bishop e.
f1.
Yeah, bishop anywhere in the same diagonal is good. Yeah, not here and not here because you lose the bishop, and if you go to this square, the king will kind of repeat. So we can play bishop f1, no problem. And after the king goes to c7. Yeah, what do you play?
Bishop g2.
Yeah, bishop g2, taking control of this diagonal so that the king goes backward. And okay, the king has gone here, but what will play? Yeah, what is the next move? Knight controlling this, bishop controlling this. King e6, very good. It doesn't matter king goes here or here. In both situations, you are going to pick king e6. Yeah, the task is to control c7 square. King c7, now the king has to go to d8, and since he's trying to escape from e8, what you will play?
Then knight
Knight? Sorry?
c7.
d7. Knight is already on d7.
Sir, c5.
c5. No, this is not the move.
Sir,
Knight c5 you need to play. Yeah, I told you how to
Bishop
play knight.
e5.
Yeah,
Bishop
you need to
g6.
control. Yeah, every move that you're saying with the bishop is correct because you need to control e8. The knight move is not good because we're not controlling e8 square. I told you have to continue W pattern only in a situation when the king is trying to escape, and also you have the control of previous square so that the king cannot go backward. So anyone who told the bishop move along these three squares are good. Even bishop s3 will do the task. So king goes to e8, and then we go to g6, or you can go even this one so that you can play next move here. So both are correct. Now what will you play? Should we continue knight c5 or we have to play something?
Knight c5.
So
Yeah,
knight
it is. Now you are missing one condition. I told you one condition, that is you have to continue the W pattern only in a situation when the king is trying to escape and also you are controlling the previous square. Right now the king has not played c8. So you just need to play a waiting move. So the move is,
Waiting move. Bishop waiting.
yeah, bishop. Wait, what is this? Bishop along this diagonal, along these two squares. Waiting move we have to play. If you try to escape, you'll be ahead one move, and that will cost you. Okay. So we want to play knight to c5, but not immediately. So we just play a waiting move, and let the king goes to c8. Then only you go knight c5. Okay. Now what do you play?
knight b2.
Yeah,
b7.
knight b2, b7. Next,
King c6.
king c6. King goes b8.
King b6.
King b6, perfect. Somebody was mentioning every single time bishop g4 controlling this square, but you need to control this square first, and then you can control this square, because this square the king cannot escape. You can play the bishop move later and the king cannot escape. It is important to control the a7 square. So bishop b6, and after the king comes to c8. Oh, he didn't
Bishop.
came to c8. Yeah, bishop to g4, controlling this square, and now we have to deliver the checkmate. Yes, in this corner, how you will deliver checkmate?
And C5, sir.
The same technique.
And
C5,
and
correct.
C5, sir.
Next,
Bishop.
Bishop F3, sir.
no,
Bishop
bishop f3, the
F3.
king goes to b8. If bishop f3, king goes to b8.
Waiting move. Bishop.
Sir,
Yeah,
B
bishop waiting.
H3, sir. B
Yeah,
H3.
bishop along this line, anywhere waiting move, so that the king comes to b8. Then you give knight check, and when you give a knight check, the king, you need to make sure that the king is going in the corner only. If you play bishop f3, king goes to b8, and if you give a check, the king escapes. So just play a waiting move, and after king b8, then only you can play knight to a6. Now it's easy to deliver checkmate. Okay, these things are clear. Yeah, the checkmate technique is clear. What happens if the opponent play all the top moves, all the best moves, then what we can do. Now we'll see one more thing is left. That is what happens if the opponent plays a weak move. This is a difficult task to do because all of your opponent, and when I say all of your opponent, it actually means all of your opponent will play the weak moves, and nobody will play the top engine move because they know that even if you do not know what is the top engine move, most likely you will play the weak moves. And when you know that it is a top engine move, you'll play the weak move only because you know that it is easier to win against the top move than to win against the weak moves. So when the opponent plays the weak defense, it is difficult task for white to win the game. Though it is, when I say it is possible to do the checkmate early on, but it is difficult to do the checkmate. Are you getting the meaning of this? A mate in 2 can be difficult than a mate in 3, right? You're getting the meaning of this thing? A mate in 2 can be difficult than mate in 3. Is this clear?
No, sir.
You're not getting. Okay. Let's say you have a checkmate in queen and rook, and you know that there is a checkmate possible, and you also know that you can do ladder technique checkmate, and you can do that in 10 move, and you can do that blindfolded. Okay, 10 move checkmate you can do. You have a queen and let's say rook you have. It can be done much faster. So this checkmate is possible, is fast. Easier, or checkmate in just 2 move with a queen and rook. Which one is more difficult? Yeah. Okay, let's say you have a queen and the rook against against the king only, and of course you also have a king. And engine says that checkmate in 2 move is possible. So what you will do? You will search what is the best move, or you will say that I don't care. I will try to go ladder technique checkmate. Which one you will follow? Mate in 2 you will look for, or you will try to go for the usual checkmate, that is ladder technique. That will take like 5 or 6 moves. Mate in 2 you can find. Is this possible? Yeah, I mean, you take any games. I can even show you. Let's take any game where the checkmate has happened. Whose game we can take? Even you can take my game. So I'll just show you, because if you understand this concept, then it will be easier for you to understand why it is easier to do checkmate in longer moves than to shorter moves. Let's take result is checkmate, and we can do number of moves more than 60, so that it is, yeah, more than 50 we can do, so that it is the end game only. Okay, this is one checkmate, you can see. Okay, now let's see this one. We just got the first checkmate. Here, there is a faster checkmate possible.
Sir, so
But-
the
Opponent blundered the game. Let's take this position. Yeah, this is winning. Yeah, so this is saying that I mean, we can use the table base instead of engine. It's checkmate in 4 move. How is this possible? I don't know. Like, it's checkmate possible in 4 moves. It is possible to do checkmate in 4 move here.
We make
Yeah, this thing, and then deliver this kind of checkmate, right? You play this move.
yes, like
King here, give a check. King here. You can go this. King here. You go here. This, and this is checkmate in 4, right? But you see what I did. I did something weird. I played king back, and then placed the rook on c4 so that the king cannot come this way, and then place the king so the king defends the rook, and then I pre-move the pawn. Okay. Once I move the pawn, made the queen, and here I can do checkmate in. I think there is a faster checkmate. This is checkmate in just 2 move. Okay, I can do checkmate in 2 move, but instead of that, what I'm doing, I'm playing queen d4, and then using ladder technique checkmate. Okay. Why? The reason is very simple. I cannot think here to figure out the moves. I just want to do checkmate. It's not like you have to win the game in a more fancy stuff. You just need to win the game. That is more important. I need to make sure that you're not doing a stalemate. The reason why I didn't play something like this or this, because it might turn into stalemate. So this way I know that this cannot be stalemate, because queen will always be blocked by the rook. So the king will always have some squares to escape. And when I play the next move, and the king cannot escape anywhere, and it is checkmate possible. So checkmate was possible here in just 4 moves, but still I took like 10 moves to deliver checkmate. Yeah, here it was possible in 4 moves. So what I'm trying to show you is a checkmate in less number of moves is possible, but sometimes it will be difficult to execute it. So it is easier to go for the longer checkmate. But when you play, this will be done by the engine only. Engine will always prefer the checkmate which is longer. He doesn't care which one is, easy or difficult. It will always take the way in which it is longer. Okay, but a human will play the move which is difficult for the opponent, and human doesn't care that you will do checkmate in 2 move or 3 move. He'll figure out like which move is difficult for you, and he'll play that move. Got it? So engine here will play the move king a6, but a human will play king a6. That is a weaker move, but an engine will always play king a8 or b8, which is the top engine choice, and it will take more time for us to do checkmate. Whereas king a6 we can do checkmate quickly, but the problem is it is difficult to do checkmate. You got the meaning of this thing? Why a human will play a weak move? If a good player is there, he'll play a weak move, and a weak player is there, he will not know that why. He'll only see that, okay, I will not go in the corner, I will escape. So most likely both of them will play the weak moves. So that's why I told you that a human will always play the weak move, whereas the engine will play the top move. So against the king a6, which is a weak move, now we'll be using 2 techniques. One, the barrier technique that we have seen, that we'll be using here. And the way you do is you first bring your king c6. We know that this corner we can do checkmate. So the king goes to a5, and this time you need to play a waiting move so that you can make a barrier here, like here, and the knight here. The knight and bishop collectively making a wall. See, bishop coming to d4 followed by knight coming to e3. This will make a wall. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
You forget this thing, this wall. Bishop here and the knight here will make a wall like this.
Yes.
So that's what we'll try to make here. Bishop back to d4, and the king comes to b3, b4. Now we go knight e3, and now there is a wall. Okay, so the king has again played the top move, but they, as I told you, in the human will play any of these moves, though both loses exactly same number of moves. So this time what you have to do, you're directly jumping into the W pattern, and not only the W pattern, but you're jumping into the middle of the W pattern. And the way you can jump in here is knight c2. Seems like a very difficult move, because why you'll play knight c2 and let the king come and attack you? And the reason is because we are able to bring our king, and if the king tries to attack, we again form the square wall. And I'll stop the engine because I need to explain you something here. Yeah, here, if the king tries to attack the knight, we again make the wall, the square wall. Yeah, and force the king to go in the corner, and we deliver checkmate. That is what most of the human will play. But engine realized that the king checkmate is possible in this corner, so he'll not go in the corner. He's trying to escape. Now what do? Now we can directly jump into the middle of a W pattern by playing knight d4. Now you notice we are controlling the a6 square. We are forcing the king from this corner to this corner. Okay, the king goes a4. What is the move here? Yeah, you have done this thing 3 times. We did it. So I think
King
you can
c4. King
king
c4.
c4. Perfect. The king tries to escape. King c4 is the move that this would play. King a5. And then we need to control a5.
C5.
Yeah, you need to play bishop anywhere along this diagonal. So anywhere is fine. And then you can play bishop to b6. Next move. And this time the king will try to go to a3. Yeah, the king goes to a3. And since we are controlling the previous square and the king is trying to escape, so we follow the W pattern.
W pattern.
Yeah, how do we go for it? Yeah, how do you go for it? Knight to
D3.
d3 is right answer. King goes back. Going back is the top engine move, but a human will not play this move. A human will play like a2. That is also easy for you if you know these patterns. So after king goes a4, what we should play?
To check.
Yeah, knight a2 check.
Then
Back
knight.
to
King C3.
king a3, king c3. Yeah, so we can do pre-move. The king doesn't have any other choice. Again, the king doesn't have any choice. King a2. What do you play next?
King C2.
King c2. King try to escape. I see you are doing mistake here. Whenever the king is going, I see every single time you are trying to play bishop move. Bishop move, you can play next move. You feel like the knight king can escape here. No, the knight is covering that square. So whenever the king comes here, you can play the bishop. It is important to cover b1 square. So you do it by c2. And the king goes a1. Here you can do even pre-move everything. So king goes if a3. He didn't even go a3. So bishop to c5 anyway, controlling a3 square, and then we just play the checkmate pattern. How do we do?
So knight d.
And
Knight
D3,
to-
sir.
Yeah, d3.
And
Okay, now
D3,
you.
sir.
Yeah, so you realize that knight need to go on c1. What move we need to play?
Bishop waiting move, sir.
Yeah, which diagonal? This diagonal or this diagonal? Yeah,
The
which way you go?
bishop. C. The bishop. The bishop to f1. F8.
Sir, bishop D4.
Bishop to.
Sir, bishop
Bishop
D4.
to.
Sir, bishop.
okay.
Bishop to.
Okay, yeah, every move in this diagonal is correct.
Bishop
but-
E7, sir.
yeah,
Bishop
correct. There
E7.
is no problem. Every move in the diagonal is correct except a3, and the d4 you are saying is not correct because the king escapes, and if you give check, he escapes. So you play bishop anywhere along this diagonal, and that's fine. You can go anywhere, and then you give a check with the knight so that the king comes back. If you're not controlling this square, why the king will go there? King will come back. He'll escape. So this time he's supposed to come back, and then we can do checkmate. So we did checkmate in 18 moves only, and it will be like I think 30 move we will take total to deliver checkmate if the king plays the weaker move. But if we can do even faster. I think it will take 10 move, 18 plus 10, 28. Yeah, I think it's taking 28 moves against the weak defense. Against the weak defense, what we need to do? We need to take the bishop back and make a wall. Got it? That is what you need to do. And then you will directly jump into the middle of a W pattern. Yeah, this move, knight c2, so that we can jump into the middle of a W pattern. King move, and if they try to attack you, let's say they try to attack you, what do?
Knight E3.
Knight e3. Again, make the wall. What is this? This wall. And the king has to take a longer path to escape. And we'll not let them escape. We'll be able to control the king. If the king goes there, we know that the king cannot escape. So the king can go to, yeah, what do we play?
Sir,
What do you think?
knight c.
Knight c4, controlling this square. Then you're blocking the way. So the king goes to b3.
King C.
King to
C4.
king c4. The king goes a5. Then what will go? Yeah. Bishop c3. Okay. Now the king comes attack you, bishop d2. Now you're making a wall like this. And if the king goes here, now we can force him into the corner. Got it? Is this clear? Now it's easy to force the king to go to the corner, and once the king is in the corner, you can do checkmate. King can go here, but then let's say the king goes here, you can go here, and now the king has to go backward, and you'll be always able to make the, like the king goes here, you can just play a waiting move so that the king goes to, like you can go bishop c3, king goes here, and after that you can even give a check. No, you can't give a check, so you need to just play some waiting moves like this and then control these squares. Okay, once the king is controlled, and the king cannot escape here, you can see, so the king has to go to the corner only and can deliver checkmate. Right? Against the weak defense you try later, but what you try to do is, you try to do checkmate against the engine, against the computer, and once you are able to do checkmate against the computer, then only you can understand why the human will play the weak move, and you can try to win against them. Okay, so I will repeat quickly what we have discussed. We discussed that we can do checkmate only in the one corner, only in particular corner of the board, that is the same color of bishop. Second, we discussed that there is a particular barrier with the bishop and knight that we can make. We're getting disturbance. Okay, no more. With the bishop and the knight placed one step away in the file or in the rank, they will form a wall, or you can say barrier. And the second type of barrier is also the similar. This we see in the while we are in the end game. In the ending of delivering checkmate, we play bishop here, force the king go backward, and then we control, and we force the king to go to the corner, and then we'll deliver checkmate. So this will be seen in the end game only, at the end only. It's only the end game. And the third barrier is the knight and bishop again placed one step away in the rank, and they control the king completely. And the fourth one is very important that I have shown you how to use, and it is very useful. Bishop and knight placed in diagonal with the bishop ahead, controlling the squares and making a square wall. Okay, and then we can force the king to go to the corner following particular steps. That was first bring the bishop, control the longest diagonal. Second was to immediately you cannot play, but you can choose the other path, or you can play the other move first, and then you can control the bishop to the longest diagonal. So bishop to the longest diagonal, king to the center, knight to the square where the knight can make a wall. Knight and bishop can make a wall, and then bishop just above the knight, so that together they make a square wall, and forcing the king to the corner. And once the king in the corner, use the W maneuver to do the force the king go to the corner and to the right corner, and after the right corner you have to deliver the checkmate. And then we discussed what is the weak defense. Against the weak defense we have to be careful. This will be played by the human only, and if you are able to do against the engine, then only you will be able to do the against the weak defense. This one is actually a more difficult task, though it is faster to deliver checkmate. Okay, anyone you want to ask? If you have any question, we'll take that questions. Or if you want to try and so checkmate, you can try once. We still have time. Yeah. You want any question? Yeah. Any question you want to ask? Yes. Anyone? Ranjul. Okay, so I'll share you this study that I've made. And what you do is you try to go through it and try to practice the checkmate against the computer, and use the W maneuver. There are some checkmates. I think there has to be 2 checkmate. I have not taken 2 checkmate, but okay, you can try the checkmate and then W maneuver and W maneuver on the bottom. And then we have the weak defense. Weak defense you can try in the end, so I'll keep it in the bottom. Then the checkmate, and then again there is a checkmate again, similar checkmate, and in the end you can try the weak defense. Okay, so if you have any question, I will take the questions, or when we have to meet again. Yeah, we'll be having the next session on the Sunday. That will be Rook against